Red alert. All hands to battle stations. Shields up. Stand by weapon.
We've got another red alert going on here, man.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, are your shields up?
My lobes are tingling, that's for
tingling? Sure. Yeah. Well, my lobes have been tingling a lot lately, too.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like I haven't felt this feeling in like a year.
Over a year.
Over a year. Just like
yes.
It
just
was
like that, out of the blue.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if it was like I was experiencing some weird form of Ponfar, or maybe it was just a yearning for some Oomox. I don't know, but
we all want the Oomox.
Yeah, man. So I guess
how are you?
I'm. It's good. It's good to hear your voice. I have not heard you in this mode in so long.
In a while, yeah. So what's been happening in the last year or so?
Well, a lot.
Yeah.
But I think primarily what I've been feeling is like the absence of something, right? You and I got together a few times, and it was like, oh man, you know, we miss the Oomox, right?
I miss the just this camaraderie and interaction is fun, and having that on a predictable, regular basis it was certainly something that I missed.
Yeah. Me too. And this is what's interesting is, and if you're listening to this, by the way, it's a Red Alert episode here, and as you know, Red Alert episodes are not structured. There's something going on, and we're just talking. So bear with us.
Just flying through the wormhole.
We're right. Yeah, no lube, just right through the wormhole. There's some grimacing going on, but we're going to get through this. No, it's interesting. I'll pin this down for the listeners and for you, my friend. A few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, I was looking at because I'm the keeper of the social media, basically, most of it for Audio Oomox. And even though we shut down Audio Oomox in December of 2017, which
time
freaks
flies.
me out. Yeah, you were telling me offline. Oh, that what, 6 months ago? No, over a year. No. But I put out a tweet and I just said, if you want to download any of your favorite episodes of Audio Oomox Season 1, you got a few weeks to do it before I pull them all down, because basically it's costing us money to keep the archive up there, and we're not paupers by any means, but it's a monthly fee, and it adds up, and it's like, okay, if nobody's interested, and I mean, right away, our number one fan, Mike, at Finney Can Help on Twitter, our number one fan, says, I'll pony up something to help keep the archive online. I was like, wow. And then I posted a link up there, which is still posted. It's pinned to the top of the Twitter feed. And Rusty Bike, was it Rusty Bikes, is the other one. Yeah, at Rusty Bikes. And at Rusty Bikes contributed money to keep the archive. I mean, not a little bit of money. I mean, enough to keep the archive up all year was made by these two people. Plus, then after that, a few other people jumped in with some smaller amounts. And then between us, I mean, the archive was there. And I remember so tickled. I texted you right away, right? And
yes, you did.
How did you feel when you saw that text?
I thrilled. So from my perspective, it's, obviously do it because it's fun, but it's always flattering to know that other people enjoy it, are having fun as well. Yeah. And so it's, incredibly flattering. And to your earlier point, it was inspiring to go and, jump back in and maybe have another go at this thing.
Well, I think you've already kind of tipped your hat, so why don't you make the announcement? What's going to happen, man?
So we're going to jump right back in where we left off. So we finished Season 1, and we're going to begin with Season 2. Most of the format will be similar. However, we will take some liberties just for to keep the show moving to keep it focused on key themes. Like our first installment is a multi-part episode, so it's a 3-parter, and we'll cover that in one of our podcasts as opposed to trying to dive in to every layer of minutia in the episode. We'll cover more themes and takeaways, that type of thing.
Still be some fun trivia, which I can't do. But we both talked about how the first 3 episodes of season 2, that's the Homecoming, the Circle, and the Siege, they're all an arc, and it's the first 3-part arc in Star Trek history. Boom, there's some trivia right there. And I just was talking to you, and I was like, not that individually these aren't good episodes, because they are in their own way, but why don't we just talk about, since we're kind of focusing in on the themes, as you said, why don't we do one episode about this arc? Now, that could bite us in the ass at season 7 if we get that far, because that's like a 9-episode arc at the end of the series. We won't do that then. Those episodes are so bloody rich that there's just no way. But we're going to reserve the right to do things like this. And frankly, also, put our heads together and just agree that there's some stinkers in a row.
Someone phoned it in?
Yeah, if there's some episodes that are just really dumb, or we just think so, we're going to probably reserve the right to put 2 in one episode and do it that way.
Or mercilessly make fun of that episode, which I like to do that as well.
Yeah, very true. So we are back. Now, there's another change, though. There's another change, and that has been brought on by life itself. As you may know, I'm Simon Van Gelder, or I was.
And I was John Christopher.
Right, and he's actually Brian.
And he's Alex.
Right.
And we revealed that at the end of the previous season.
Right.
1, because the cat is a bit out of the bag.
Yeah.
And 2, sadly, both of the actors who played both of our namesakes have passed away in the past year. So we will certainly want to honor them, but we'll go by our own names, Brian and Alex. It's easier.
Yeah. But our personas are the same. We just have different names. But I'll start in reverse order. We lost Morgan Woodward on February 22nd of this year, of 2019. And now Morgan played 2 Star Trek characters. He played Simon Van Gelder in Dagger of the Mind, the original series episode. Brilliant performance of a man being driven insane by Dr. Adams' machine. But he also played the mustache twirling villain in Captain Ron Tracy in the Omega Glory, which is not my favorite episode for a lot of reasons, but he was very good in it. You might also recognize Morgan Woodward from Cool Hand Luke. He did a great turn on the X-Files about 25 years ago, and he lived to be 93 years old.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. And sad to lose him, but certainly a life well lived.
Yeah.
And then my namesake, John Christopher, the actor who played him, is Roger Perry, and he passed away last summer, July 12th of 2018. And so let's see, he was
in his 80s, wasn't he?
Yeah, something like that. So. And had a pretty wide-ranging career as well in TV and film.
Well, it's funny. I was thinking of you and him the other day. Do you have Comet TV?
I don't think so.
It's an over-the-air sci-fi channel, and they play a lot of schlocky stuff. But they had The Return of Count Yorga from 1971 on there. And it's about a vampire, and parts of it I really enjoy. I'm also a big Svengoolie fan. It's a type of Svengoolie who's in Chicago, type of Svengoolie type show. But I was watching it, and who's there with like a kind of a Van Dyke beard and some wild hipster clothes from the 70s? But Roger Perry playing one of the heroes.
Wow!
And I was just like, hey, it's John Christopher. All right, he's swinging cat and he's fighting off vampires, man. Anyway,
cool.
So yeah, and here we go chasing rabbits as we normally do. But so what you're going to get, folks, if you're going to stay with us, is this. Brian and Alex are going to be back every week. We are going to record on Wednesday nights. Barring technical difficulties, life getting in the way, Brian does travel extensively for his job. I occasionally have some things happen in my life where we can't, but we're shooting to have these released by Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening of every week. If they're not going to be, you need to go to our Twitter feed, which is really easy to find. It's at audio. Is it at? Oh, listen to me. It's easy to find. It's at what? Is it Oomox Podcast? Let me see here.
I think it's at Oomox Podcast.
At Oomox Podcast. Or, if you're so inclined, you can go to our spiffy new, never had it before, just to show you our commitment to this new season of Deep Space Nine commentary, our Facebook page. Remember how I used to threaten, if we get so many downloads, we never got enough downloads, but I thought, well, F it. You know what? We're going to go ahead, and we've got ourselves an Audio Oomox Facebook page, and it's brand new, but there's plenty of content on there already because, I will say I don't love the Facebook platform, but it is a better platform to share video and I think graphics and things like that than Twitter in a lot of ways.
Right.
So
Twitter's is great for one still image or a link to something else.
Quick hits, yeah. And
right.
I always think about Twitter like a radio station, whereas I think of audio or Facebook could be like a newspaper with multimedia capabilities or something. So there's a link pinned to the top, and it's like, psych, we're back. Stay tuned for Season 2, your favorite Deep Space Nine pod. Stay tuned here for details. And there's a link to catch up on iTunes to all of our previous season. And you know what? It's weird, and I've also, of course, we started tweeting a lot more the past few weeks, and I'm seeing a lot more downloads. It's interesting.
Yeah.
There's kind of that old saying, it's like, how can I miss you if you won't go away? So maybe going away was good.
And it's a good break for us. I think we're coming back with maybe a better attitude about how we want to construct the episodes, keeping them a little more succinct.
Yes.
I think we did get maybe a little lengthy on
well, the word is indulgent. Listening back on that, I went and listened to most everything again the past few weeks. My bad. I'm a professional. I mean, I was a radio professional. I've been podcasting off and on since 2006. I know better. And so I pledge to you, the listener, that we'll, as Brian said, we'll keep it more succinct. I will be a lot more unforgiving with my editing than I used to be. I mean, I used to go through and get all the ums and ahs I could out of there and cut out really stupid stuff or poor taste stuff most of the time. Not all the time. But we pledged to you, we would love to keep the episodes to 20 to 30 minutes tops. We just feel like attention spans being what they are. And frankly, also, editing takes a lot of time, and 20 minutes with a couple of good drop-ins just for fun, some sound effects and things like that, I think will be great. You're going to notice, too, when our first episode of the season drops, it'll have different sound design. We're not going to have an extensive last time on Deep Space Nine. I don't want to give it all away, but we used to do that every time. It's kind of a reminder of what we talked about the week before. I think that wears people out. I think it was too long. It was indulgent. It was fun. But we're going to kind of just get right in there to the show and start talking. The other thing we're going to try to do, and I don't want to make all these big promises. It's not a promise. It's an attempt. We're also going to try to find people connected with the actual program and see if we can get some interviews. That's not unheard of. Let me tell you something. I just listened to a podcast with Jonathan Frakes, Riker. And it was like a little writer's podcast. And at the end of it, the guy interviewing him, who, by the way, Brian, was no better interviewer than you and me, he was like, well, why are you doing podcasts? Aren't you really busy? And he's incredibly busy because he's directing everything, including the new Star Trek show.
Right.
And the guy said, well, you contacted my agent. My agent said if you got time, it wouldn't be a bad thing to kind of do this. So I'm not saying we're going to get Riker. My point is, you and I have been in touch on Twitter with half the cast of DS9. And you know who's doing a pod of their own right now? Jake and Nog.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now,
awesome.
I'm not promising anything, but I'm just telling you, stranger things have happened. My old podcast before we did Audio Oomox, I interviewed one of the lone gunmen from the X-Files. I mean, people are out there, and if you ask the right way, you ask nicely, you don't, and you respect their time, sometimes they'll come on. So that's some things we're going to try. We're going to try to do. But the main thing we're going to do, right, Brian, is we're just going to get in here and start talking about the show.
Talking about the show and having fun, and circling back to the original intent. there are still many of these episodes that I have not watched.
True.
So it will be a first viewing. 20 years removed. So
To me, that's like Christmas morning.
Yeah.
It's like to see your face after you've watched it.
Unwrap an episode.
Oh
Yeah.
man, it's so great. And you know what? This is so funny, we've got to wrap this up. But I go back to this show. It's comfort food for me. I've said that repeatedly. If I've had a bad day at work or whatever, my wife goes to bed. My 10-year-old kid, she goes to bed, and I'll fire up Netflix and I will watch. It's funny because I was rewatching season 2 when you and I decided to do this again, and I was like, oh, very good. And there's some damn good stuff in season 2, and I can't wait to explore it with you, my friend.
And IU.
All right, so I hope you're excited, listeners, about us being back. We're going to do the show the best way we know how to do. We think we're amusing at times, but we're not obviously, full-fledged comedians. We try. We're not philosophers, but we try. I'm not going to continue to talk about what we're not, but what I'm going to do is talk about what we have to offer, which is 2 guys who love Trek, and our main theme, which is what Brian just talked about, which is one guy who loves Trek but isn't real familiar with DS9, and one guy who loves Trek and knows a lot about DS9. They're going to come together. So things we're also going to talk about is the DS9 documentary, which will be out any day now. This podcast is a supporter of the DS9 documentary, and we'll be talking about that. We're going to try and talk to some folks from that documentary as well. We're going to work on that. There's just a lot of good stuff we're going to do. A couple more housekeeping things, then we're going to have to wrap this up. Don't forget, Oomox Podcast is the Twitter account, and then just search for Audio Oomox on Facebook for our Facebook account. Please like it, follow it, and tell the world about it. Now, I don't want to make it sound like we're rich because we got these wonderful donations. We got enough donations to keep the show on all year in a lot of ways, but we could still use some help for us to improve a few things, to do some advertising, do some stuff like that. It's not our goal to become the biggest podcast ever. We understand it's a niche thing we're covering, but still everybody who can give a buck or two, it really helps. We're not going to go Patreon and do stuff like that. We're just going to ask for help. And there's a link. I'm sorry to keep talking here. There's a link at the top, pinned to the top of the Twitter feed if you want to give a couple of bucks.
That would be greatly appreciated. And always tell your friends. And we look forward to season 2.
We do indeed. All right. I am so excited. So you and I have a date to record next week.
I've watched one of the 3. Certainly had a few comedic notes to add, but in terms of synopsis, once we watch through, sure there'll be a couple of things that jump out. We'll make sure that we cover those quickly.
Well, and we shall. And I think that we're just giddy and excited that we're back with you. Please let us know how you feel about this. One way you can do that is to write a review on iTunes. You know the drill. We'll talk more about that as we go on. Please share this information with people. Also watch the Twitter feed and the Facebook page. There'll be some easily shareable things where it's links to the shows and links about what we're doing. You can share that with your friends and just like Mike did, like our 2 benefactors have done, by telling other people and by putting their money where their mouth is. They're inspiring us, and it's just so funny. Just a few bucks inspired 2 guys to get off their butts and get back at it.
Right.
All right.
Absolutely. All right, Alex.
All right, Brian. Until next time,
It sounds a little weird calling you that
I know.
on this podcast, so that's all right.
We'll get used to it, right?
We will.
Well, and until we meet again, the wormhole is
closed.